I'm Gentleman Josh Hill.
I'm Aaron Jeffrey.
I'm Johnson Jazz Busiest.
I'm Mike Malott.
I'm Rafian Style.
Tune into the
Donttap
Donttap podcast.
Donttap
podcast.
Ron Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework.
Man, that's like saying the rankings are bullshit.
Motherfucker from Canada.
Got a really high fight IQ.
For this fight, I'm telling you.
Okay. Welcome to another edition of the Donttap podcast. I mean, last week was a week I think Billy did pretty well, crushed it. Nick, how did you do?
I did good, man. Obviously, I'll admit that plus 1200 split decision definitely saved my ass on that night because I had Gabriel Santos and Rebus and two parlays that did not hit. And because I was traveling at the time, I had to go to a 1-year-old's birthday, so I wasn't quite paying attention to the fights. So I wasn't able to I didn't want to lock too much stuff in. So with it being a
so this is where you got to get that Twitter going, brother. We got to change up get that Twitter handle going, and really when you have those instincts on those bets right before a fight, get that out and get those plays out there. But regardless, it is a slick play on a split. But I mean, something you personally got to be able to take advantage of. But next time, let's get everybody else taking advantage of it too, because
I know a lot of people were in on Julian Roberts and stuff like that. I was definitely on the Ricci side, and Ricci looked good. So I had a decent amount of money in Ricci as well. So those were my two bigger plays. And then I had a big play on Justin Taffa, which unfortunately didn't cash due to the unfortunate eye poke. And then my two bigger parlays had Santos in it, and one of them had the under 1.5 with Taffa and Rebaz, which obviously didn't hit. So it was a 50-50 night on me. Still ended up with some extra money at the end of it, but one of those cards back and forth.
For me, I mean, I cashed on Jenkins the dog. I was sweating that and don't really know if I feel deserving of it, but I mean, that doesn't matter to me. I'll fucking take it. That's why you go with the dog and you take that plus money, especially when they're as violent as he is. And the judges saw it that way, as his violence was his leg kicks and everything else. I went too far into the deep end on Brendan Allen. I think I went too far in on. Initially, my play was, the third round or a decision. And I was okay with that one if I had lost it, but I also had the submission at plus 163 when I first put it out. And for me, I was going to wait to see where that line went to hit it. Didn't end up going with that, went with the round sprinkles and went with the second and third round. So
you know what I thought was weird about that fight though, Cal, just to cut you off a little bit here. Okay. Brandon Allen on the parlay for Brandon Allen in the under 2.5 was higher odds than his inside the distance prop. So you can't blame yourself for the third round. The bookies kind of accounted for that, I felt like, with that parlay, because
I just thought him on the over.
Was really weird.
I put Brandon Allen as the win and parlayed it with the over. I just thought that was going to hit. And then on top of that too, just went with the round prop. So that really wasn't, that was a big miss on my part. But the dog that we hit the dog, that was a play I was happy with, but just a couple spots. I think I went too cute overshooting on a couple spots, need to just dial it back, get back to just the instincts where I feel the edges. That's sort of where I feel I did this week. And hopefully we can all come together with some good spots as we roll. So how do you feel? You want to just sort of recap your spots quickly, Billy? And I know that Barber, I was on the Barber side too, and I regret not making that one of the plays too, man, because I think that I've been I was such a not anti-Barber, but I wasn't really into Barber before. And she just sold me, man. She's been putting so much goddamn work in. And look at that goddamn head kick. Let's go, Billy.
Yeah, I was excited, man. Last week was definitely, I felt like from a prediction standpoint, it went exactly how I went. And I wasn't really too surprised in some of the spots. Like we talked a little bit about how I thought Zalgas was a little bit too high of a favorite, even though I still kind of leaned towards him. It was just a weird fight. And it was a lot of the weird fights went weird. Top of the fight, honestly, I'm kind of glad that fight didn't finish out. I'd take the push and take the money back. Shit, the only thing that was missing on last week's card was Tyra, man. That was the only thing that really would have made it the night, because I didn't really feel comfortable with running a lot of parlays. I had Tyra stacked up with a lot of different parlays. So it was a good week from the aspect of I'm seeing things correctly. Could have made a little bit more money betting wise, but that's always how we feel after a card and we see the results.
For sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't feel totally bad about how it played out because I think I was pretty close on some spots, but close is not cash. So we need to cash. That's the deal. That's the name of the game. And I'm even going to try to get out lines and put out some lines early. My following on line isn't quite there to get it out maximized. So guess who I pass it off to? Mr. Billy Briz. And if he's going to reshare then and sees value in those lines, then I'll put those out as well too. And Nick, that's what you got to do as well too. Because if you feel a line even pre-fight, get it out there on Twitter. Boom. Billy's got the following right now. We do not, yes. But at least if one person benefits from it, that is the name of the game. That's what we got to do first. So, and first up, I will actually dig into a line that a lot of people are probably looking at. I'm going to start with an over-under. I'm going to look at Gatto and Lipski. I just think this is a violent spot. I think this fight is going to end pretty nasty and like a car wreck. A lot of people are feeling pretty strong on either side of this. If you're on a Gatto's side, you're feeling pretty strong about it, that Lipski's going to blow up and Gatto's going to take her down and just destroy her. And then if you look at the Lipski side of things, a lot of people are thinking her momentum is swinging. She's the side, she's the dog, and that's where the value is. For me, I mean, if you look at it, right now, under 2.5 was plus 115 when I put it out. Now it's plus 110. But I even like the fight doesn't go the distance. Give me the extra half around at minus 105. And if it goes the distance, I'll take it. But I honestly think these girls are going to go violent. I think this is going to end inside the distance. Lipski is a inside the distance girl, whether it's, you know, on the winning end or the losing end, mostly on the losing end of things. So for me, you can cap the capper or maybe think that Gatto is the side with how I'm looking at this because it ends inside the distance indefinitely. But that's the play I'm going to look at. Fight doesn't go the distance, minus 105. That's going to be one of my first plays of the week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is actually the first spot that I had on my card too. The big mark on Gatto's career, I mean, on Lipski's career has really just been consistency, but her last performance was definitely the best versus JJ Aldridge. I mean, that was by far the best she's looked, but like you talked about the queen of violence, I mean, 4 out of her last 6 fights, haven't seen the judges' scorecards while her striking has developed. It's her striking defense is the reason why I don't really like Lipski too much. It's very subpar. Gatto has been a darling for me in the UFC 2-1 so far. Even though her last fight was a loss, I don't mind that loss. It was against Cortez, a strong wrestler. She pushed the cardio for 15 minutes, something that we didn't really get to see on the regional scene. I love the way she strikes, though. She mixes a lot of leg kicks that really get her wrestling going. She's one of those fighters like we talked about last week. Jillian Robertson striking so subpar that she can't even get to the wrestling. Gatto's like a little bit opposite. She's going to throw leg kicks. She's going to throw overhand rights. It might not be the most technical, but there's going to be some pop on those shots. And I think that last loss is good for her career. Sometimes these undefeated fighters need to feel what it's like to test the UFC veteran. Gatto she looks a lot better of herself every time she goes out there. And I expect Gatto to get this finish, man. One of my biggest, the biggest bet I've ever cashed in my life was Montana De La Rosa round 2 knockout, 41-1 odds on Ariane Lipski when they fought a couple years back during the COVID year. So I'm going right back to the well this week. I like Melissa Gatto. I like the under 2.5. I like Gatto ITD, and I like Gatto round 2.
Okay, so you're, I mean, I'm being a little bit modest with it. So, I mean, if you look at it, both Billy and I were pretty heavy on Allen last week. We went back to back talking about it. We're pretty heavy on this fight not going the distance, whatever way you want to package it up, whether you think the Gatto side is the thing, and or the under 2.5 or fight doesn't go, there's going to be a car wreck in the ring or in the cage. And I think that's just going to be the play. So Nick, what's your thoughts on this one? I know that there's been a lot of talk in the chat, in the Donttap chat about, you know, back and forth, who's going to win this one, but what's your thoughts on how this goes?
I just think the line's wide. I think this is one of these fights where like you look at it and like, you know, if you look at the way Lipski fights, right, like she looked very good in her last fight. And as Billy said, her biggest issue is the fact that she's inconsistent. But if you take away the fights where she doesn't look consistent, in my opinion, she wins this fight all day. It's just you don't know which Lipski's going to show up. And that's the hard factor of betting her. Is if she shows up like she did last time, I think she beats Gatto. I think Gatto's a good striker. But I think that she also, if this turns into a kickboxing fight, you know, Lipski has a kickboxing background, and I think that it's going to be a lot more competitive than the line suggests. I think you're probably looking at closer to a pick'em asset if we do get this version Lipski that we expect to get. So both of my plays kind of contradict what you guys said, unfortunately. So, but I like the plus 3.5 on Lipski because I think this fight's going to be close. I won't have any action on it anyways, if I'm going to be honest. I got burned pretty heavily last week on women's MMA, so I may stay away from it.
If you look at it the way that you're looking at Lipski, I mean, if she comes in on point, then she's got a finishing ability. If she comes in overzealous and gets caught because she's just off, I mean, I see the same thing.
But
So I see the violence,
that's
and
the
I think
thing.
that's
I can see it going both ways in that sense, right? But I think Lipsky also knows that she's coming in facing somebody who's fairly high level when it comes to the striking as well. And I think we see a competitive kickboxing match that goes to a decision. But once again, it's I see the angle on your guys' side too, man. If these two girls just say "fuck it, we're fighting," then somebody's going to sleep for sure. It's just I personally see a more reserved approach from Lipsky, which I think they'll pay off and probably bring this to a close split decision.
Lipsky might want to fight reserve, but I'll tell you right now, Melissa Gatto is going to bring the fight. That's just going to make Lipsky fight. I feel like the under 2.5. The reason why I emphasize on being on the Gatto side is because I think that under 2.5 is coming from the Gatto side. I don't think it's coming from the Lipsky side. If Lipsky wins this fight, it's probably a split decision or some shit like that. And yeah, there'll probably be blood on each other's faces. But if we're getting the under here, it's going to be from Gatto.
Okay, I think we all pretty much have spots on this one. And Nick, what's your next spot on the card?
I'm gonna go with Farkadinov on this fight, man. I know I'm going with a pretty heavy favorite to start it off, but at the end of the day, you got Kevin Lee coming back into it, man. Kevin Lee has never looked good at 170, in my opinion. He's going to be fairly undersized. And we're not, man. Like, the way this guy grapples and he's just able to take guys down left and right. We saw what he was able to do to Brian Battle and just completely batter him. The guy just gives you no space to work. His cardio is good. And Kevin Lee, I said, his last fight was against Diego Sanchez in Eagle FC. He's kind of been putting around. Doesn't really know what he wants to do with his career. And I think he probably took a not so great deal to come back to the UFC. And I think they're giving him this fight as something that's an unjust to him. Because Kevin Lee, with the name value that he has, you think they give him more. He's a little bit later in his career. They give him more like the Joe Lozons, like those types of fighters, right? Like the guys where you can really have like a fun, like old timer fight. But I think Renat's just levels above him, and he's going to demolish him in this spot.
Now, I see Renat. I know that he lands about 6 takedowns a fight. I know it's on a small sample size and against lesser competition, I would argue. But I'm just trying to sort of play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Kevin Lee with a 75% takedown defense. And I know that he hasn't shown up, and I've backed him before in the past. My only question to you is even though I think that Renat definitely takes him down at points, I don't know if he finishes him on the ground. At the same time, if this ends up on the feet, I mean, Renat's striking is not very good. Like, if you watch his striking, it's not very good. He's got some good kicks, good leg kicks and whatnot, and he has some good feet. But when it comes down to the hands, he just leaves himself exposed quite a bit. And it just sort of makes me sweat a bit about that line. And I know that he's a favorite. I know he likely probably wins this one. But I don't know, man. Kevin Lee makes me sweat in this one. Because if he shows up with this whole attitude that he's had online, he's saying, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just going to go in there and let it go. He's always put pressure on himself to be the best and sort of put his foot in his mouth 1,000 times. And if he's actually just going in there with loose, I don't know. It scares me. Because he does have that
always had questionable cardio to me as well, though.
Yeah,
like he's not a guy that can really go the full 3 rounds. So even so, like if he blows his load in the first round, Renat struggles to get into the ground because of Kevin Lee's good takedown defense. I still think those takedowns are going to come in the second and third. So you may even get a better line on this live if Kevin Lee just starts teeing off in the first, but. I do agree.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. That's all. I don't really have a strong feel on it.
I don't mind the devil's advocate because I'm with the Kevin Lee side, man. I actually lean towards Kevin Lee in this side, man. I mean, he's been putting in the work, and I know he's been training on nothing against Renat Fakardinov. Made some money on him on the not the Contender Series, the UFC debut. Everybody thought he was a little bit overrated, and he got originally signed from Dana White looking for a fight, and he actually – Dana White was there to see Khabib's cousin. He comes out there, sees Eric Spicer, a dude that he just cut, and Renat ended up knocking him out. And that's what got him into the UFC. Then it took him a year to really develop his skills and go over to American Top Team. So I think there's some holes in his game. I don't know if he's really fighting the best top tier of competitions because on the regional scene, because he's Muslim and he was fighting in Russia, he wouldn't fight other Muslim people. So his level of competition prior to coming to the UFC was just really subpar. I think that there could be levels to this, and I think that the level is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee has not fought in a while, but, I mean, we saw him fight in Eagle FC last year against Diego Sanchez. He looked good. That was, I think, a catchweight bout at what was that? 165 catchweight.
What's the line currently sitting at right now? I saw it around plus 165, is it? Around there? Plus 170?
Yeah, plus 170. plus 170 was I was seeing it at.
I
And I
really
like
hope
Kevin
it
Lee,
goes
man. This
over
fight
200.
reminds me a lot of when he fought early on in his career against Magomedov, and everybody thought he was the Russian killer, the Russian killer. And Kevin Lee went out there, put his life on the line, and got that second round rear naked choke. I don't think this one's going to be pretty. This could be one of those ones where you're losing until you're not. But I think Kevin Lee's going to win this fight.
Yeah, that scares me, man. I just think the levels he's fought, like look who he's fought. Dos Anjos, Ally Quinta when he was pretty solid. I know it's that Ally Quinta, Mr. Real Estate. I don't know, man. Just for me,
Right before he left and got
it's
cut, he was supposed to fight Sean
Lefty,
Brady
Oliveira,
and shit like
Rodriguez.
that. Like there's a huge level gap in talent. While Renat might be like top 30 or top 35 or something like that, I don't think he's top 20.
I'll be honest, I haven't really seen too much of Bernat's scrambles because a lot of people aren't trying to shoot to take him down. But Kevin Lee's a solid ass wrestler, and Bernat leaves so many holes when he's throwing his strikes because it's just to get you up against the cage. I know most of the time is spent on the cage getting you down. I know he is really high level, which makes me sweat even looking at Kevin Lee. But if it gets high enough, I'll even look at it as a play personally for myself because I mean, I think anything north of I think it was actually even plus 180 at one point, but I don't know, man. It makes me sweat. So the line little wide. So I guess that would be, we'll let Billy jump in because I know you sort of came out with one of yours, but it sort of was on the tail end of me bringing it up. So why don't you come in with your next spot?
Yeah, next spot here that I'm looking at here is the Max Grissom versus Michael Morales fight. This is a typical fight that we see every week. Is the prospect ready to take on this specific vet? And I don't know, man. Max Griffin's been in his prime, winning 4 out of his last 5 fights. I mean, he's been rolling with the only loss being a split decision versus Steel Magny. Morales is tall, rangy, powerful striker with good BJJ, training out of the Entron gym in Tijuana down there in South America. But this won't be the fight that you think it will be. He probably thinks this one's an easy-ass fight that the UFC is putting him up against. But I think Griffin's going to give him a hell of a fight. Why I don't think Griffin's going to win this fight, particularly, like how much confident can I really be? I think this is one of those plus 3.5 handicap spots that I'm looking at here to attack. I think Max Griffin's going to give this prospect a run for his money. He isn't going to be out there fighting like fucking Adam Fugit and shit like that and quitting in the middle of the fight. Max Griffin's seen the big lights. He's fought on big cards. He's a big name fighter. He's in his prime. I like him here over Michael Morales here.
I like that spread angle because even if you're really putting out that he actually might win the fight, I think he can definitely win around in that 100%. So then the value is probably going to definitely be there on that one because I don't think this line moves too much. What's it currently sitting at right now?
Minus 220 for Morales.
I believe he's like plus 200.
Yeah. So that line, it sort of even sticks. That's going to be a nice spread. That just sounds horrible, but we'll leave that one there. Next pick, I will come in with my spots. I am going to go back to women's MMA. I told you every time I look at the card and I see women's MMA, it seems to sort of, I see angles on things. So it's a little bit of a fade, but more just a deficiency in her game. And Yana Kunitskaya just gets taken down. Taken down over and over and over again. And I hit the Holly Holm takedowns last time she fought against her. And she tends to lose every time she gets taken down, except for when she fought Ketlin Vieira. And that's when Ketlin, I don't know what she did. She was hugging hips, trying to get takedowns, didn't really hold her down long, didn't really throw any strikes in that fight. Don't know what happened to Ketlin in that fight, but that is the only time Yana's been taken down multiple times and, not lost. So for me, I just think that, with what Holly did to her, took her down 4 times. I think that when you look at Rosa, I just think it's a side, man. Minus 156 right now. I think she has the volume on Yana, although Yana is a tricky striker. She's a little bit more low volume. She does get hit. And also I don't know how to say it, but when you watch her strike, she overshoots on things on her strikes and she leaves herself exposed for takedowns. And that's where the takedown happens. She's a little bit too active, too much going on when she throws her strikes, and it leaves herself exposed, and she's never really shored up that part of her game. So if you look at what is her takedown defense right now?
I think the one big concern here for Cara Rosa is that the last fight that she took against Norma Dumont that she lost, she took that fight on somewhat short notice, and now she's taking this fight on short notice, filling in for somebody, and it's just like she's taking this fight with like 2.5 weeks of a camp. How is her cardio going to look? Because I think her cardio is what cost her last fight against Norbert Dumont. She started off slow. She came out, and then she tried to finish up the third round because she knew she was down. How is she going to take the approach for this fight? This is where we go back to like where women's MMA can be sketchy. I think if we're playing like UFC 4 or something like that, Carol Rosa would smoke Yana Santos. But Carol Rosa on a 2.5 weeks camp, could we see holes in her cardio? Is Yana Santos really even give a fuck about even fighting ever since she had that kid and married Thiago Santos? It looks like her game is really falling off. So it's like I don't blame you for the fade. It's just the nature of the camp here. I can't put money on a 2.5 week camp after her last performance where she took the fight on short notice and lost.
Yeah, I still think that like I thought about the cardio and I thought for me, she's not going to have to work for the takedowns, though. That's the only thing. She'll be able to even hit them out in the open. That's my only thing about the cardio, and I think that she could still potentially manage the her gas tank here. And I just think that Yana's just showing so much deficiency in that. And I think that when she gets on top, Rosa's just going to land. And Yana does just sort of seem to be checked out at this point. It's so for me. I mean, we're sitting at 45% takedown defense. Both girls shoot probably about 1.5. Like actually, no, Yana shoots about 1.28, and Rosa's landing at about 1.43 per fight in her takedown. So I just think that she's gonna be able to get some control time. I think she's gonna be able to win this one handily. I think Yana's just done. So the takedowns will be there, and I even like actually the line I'm really going to be excited about is the +2 takedowns because I think we're going to probably get a good value on that. But the reason why I'm really on it too, Rosa at -156, I like it. I just sort of like the line there. If it was a little bit north of that, I may not be as heavy on this one, but I just think Yana is going to be taken down, and I'll beat a dead horse in it. But I just think that's going to be the difference in this fight. Even if I'm sweating a little bit of, Rosa maybe gassing a little bit in the third round, but maybe you already have 2 in the bank, and we'll take it to a decision. So I will go with that one. And Nick, I think it's your turn, or Billy? No, yeah, Nick's turn, I think.
I'm gonna struggle saying this dude's name like a motherfucker, but I'm going.
Give me a short form.
I'm going through Nur Sultan or Robobov or whatever the fuck you say his name is. He's fighting Bruno Ferreira this week. I think this is a much harder fight for Ferreira than the Abdul fight because Abdul will stand there and trade with him. If you look at this guy's experience, man, he's got far more experience than Ferreira. And the thing with Ferreira is he's kind of a knockout or bust guy. And I'll be the first to admit, I cashed Bruno first round KO over Gregory Rodriguez. But it's simply because Gregory Rodriguez literally stands there and walks forward, and with that type of power, is going to KO you. If I had any idea that Gregory Rodriguez would actually try and wrestle, then I would have fucking played him all day. But Ferreira was always deciding that because he's going to get clipped. In this dude's name that I'm not going to keep trying to say because I'm going to keep butchering it. If you watch his tape, man, like this guy shoots for takedowns a lot. He's got good striking as well. So he's got about 45 pro fights. And once again, some of it is against abysmal competition, but it goes both ways. And I just don't trust Bruno's takedown defense. He's a big, muscly dude. And I think he's going to get taken down. And I think all those muscles are going to wear out. And he's going to get subbed in this fight, man. So I'm taking the +175 dog on this. Some money's come in, and I feel like that line's dropping. And as people start watching tape on this guy, I feel like the line's going to be different come fight day.
I absolutely love it. This is one of the spots. This is my third spot on the card tonight, even though he's moving up a weight class. Love Norton here. He trains at Renzo Gracie Philly. You know me, I'm a little bit biased for my guys back at home, but it's biased because I know a little bit more about them than the market suggests, and the market suggests that they don't really know anything about Ruzi here. He's 34-8-2. He has a lot of fight pro experience, but the thing that I like about him is the fact that if you're training day in, day out with Joe Bodybag Piper, Sean Brady, and you're over there at Renzo Gracie or Andre Petrosky and stuff like that, you're getting good rounds day in, day out. We saw how Randy Ruboy Brown looked last week. He was getting his training rounds over there at Renzo Gracie. So was Neil Magny. Look how good those fighters looked out. All the fighters that come out of that camp look good. And on top of that, just a little bit of sprinkle here. Shouts to Steady Picks. They put out a video earlier yesterday, I should say. And they were talking about how Norton was away from his family, wife, and kids just to have the moment to even be able to take a short notice opportunity. So he's been training at the gym for at least 6 months, waiting for this opportunity from his wife, family, and kids and stuff like that. And not even knowing that you're getting a guaranteed spot on a UFC card, and then they call you up on short notice. This is everything that we talk about in UFC. The reason why we become fans. The reason why we're on spots earlier this year. I forget that dude's name, but we're on him with the cornrows, Marcus. I forget wherever his name was, from the MMA labs. He was Sean O'Malley's training partner or whatever. We call him on short notice because we had a little bit of, we knew about him a little bit. Man, I feel disrespectful for getting the dude's name, but it's the same exact item. You always see a person on the card that's making their UFC debut. They're a debutante, and they're always not really hyped up too much, and then they shock people. Last week it was Joshua Van against Algas Umagulov, and this week it's going to be Narleton Razuliabiov.
I think you said his name a lot better than I did. I just absolutely butchered that.
and I found my tale of the week because you guys got really passionate about that. So, I mean, it built all the way through. So, I mean, everybody here, take my money. What's the code? Let's roll. Let's ride. Okay. So I'm going to come in with my spot, and you guys come in with one that you feel really strongly about. I'm going to make you all sweat on a heavyweight over. Even a heavyweight fight goes the distance. I'm going to get crazy with it. Actually, no, sorry. Heavyweight fight starts round 3. I'm going to go with Romanov and Imavov, man. Romanov has come in and pretty much blown his load in the first round with 60 suplexes, picking guys up in the air and just gassing himself out. And we were on Tabora the last time they fought, and it was pretty evident that, that there was a step up in competition, or 2 times ago, actually, I think he fought. But just the guy has shown poor fight IQ. And I think this time he's got to come in with a better approach. He can't come in and do the same thing again and again. And it's not that I don't want to go against, the idea of poor fight IQ, but I just think this is going to go over. Imavov shows 70% takedown defense. Although it's not against guys like Romanov, I just think he's going to be able to extend this fight out. He's going to be able to get back to his feet even if he gets taken down. I think this is going to go, I like this going into the 3rd round. But if you look at the lines right now, over 1.5 right now is -185. Fight to go the distance is +175. I know that's a little bit crazy. I know it seems like it, but I just really see this extending out. So the fight to start round 3 will be my official play because it looks like there will be value on that play. And that'll likely be where it is, depending on, obviously, if everybody else sort of is looking at the over on this one. But I just see this extending out. I think Imavov is durable. I think Imavov will be able to get back to his feet. And I think Romanov is going to have to come in with a little bit more of a measured approach. And if I get burnt on it, that's fine. It's not going to be one of my, it's my 3rd tier play, but I still feel like this one hits, man. I think that over hits.
I'm just a little bit nervous about the line market. While this isn't a huge concern in MMA always, it's just weird how I feel like the one heavyweight fight on the card, that's the one that everybody's betting over 1.5, and it's juiced at -180, and fight goes the distance is a little bit off. I get it. The Bigloy, where I can't say dude's name, but Blagoy has been fucking stabbed in the fucking heart before and hasn't died. So I don't think a couple punches to his face is really going to scare him off too much. It's just, I don't want to get myself involved into the over 1.5 market with everybody else holding hands on a heavyweight fight. I just think there's a couple more definite spots. If I'm betting chalk this week, there's a lot of good chalky spots this week.
This is also a good live bet opportunity again with Romanov. If he does end up, even if it's a little bit later in the fight, if he does gas at the end of that 2nd round and he's been dominant, depending on how it all plays out, that's also a play as well too.
Let me propose a question to you.
What's that?
The question would be, if Romanov and Blagoy is over 1.5 -180, and Joe Anderson Brito to win by knockout out in the 1st round is -180 or something like that, which one would you take?
Yeah, I mean, I feel strong about I know Nick's going to go back and forth on this one because that was one of my plays on the card that I had put out was Brito by KO in the 1st round. And I think with that one, Nick, I know you're going to argue that he's going to submit him. But I think he smashed the fool in the 1st round. I think that's the way that plays out. So you're sort of talking me off one, or at least I can maybe bump it down one and bring one up, if that's what you were trying to fish out there.
No, I'm just saying, like, I
I feel
project
strong
both
about
of those
Brito
odds to
finishing
be
that early.
somewhat close. Like in odds, I think both of those are probably minus 175. Joe Anderson Brito to win in like round 1 or rounds 1 or 2 if we get lucky here, and
Or
we
even
get that at
parlay
minus
Joe Anderson
175.
Brito and under 1.5 or something along those lines in the SGP might be even a way to look at it
Yeah.
too. Yeah. All
I
right. Well,
think
I
you
still
can
think
take.
the over hits, but I'm still going to keep it because I don't want to be completely talked down off of it. But at the same token, I think it's a heavyweight tilt where there's a likelihood that it could even maybe just hit the over 1.5. And I miss the round start, fight to not start round 3 because it ends at the end of the second round. Because one of the guys is gassing, or Romanov gasses, and Imavov knocks him out, or Imavov gets taken down, and Romanov finally just finishes him and extends his fight career wins as far as time, anyways, in the cage. So, but yeah,
I honestly, I think Imanov wins this fight. Like, I think that you can take a little bit of a sprinkle on Romanov by sub, but I think we're really seeing how easily exposed this guy is. He came in super heavy in his last fight. And unless this guy comes in and looks like he's dropped 15 pounds, I think he's going to express the same cardio issues that we've seen time and time again. Like, I'm pretty heavily on Blagoy winning this fight. And if you're going to take the over, man, you're just going to take the plus money on Blagoy, though. Because Blagoy doesn't finish fights. He's very sedentary in his punches. And Romanov's just going to shoot for takedowns and then just get punched and then shoot for a takedown and just get punched. But Blagoy doesn't use any energy to do anything. So he's just going to ride this out to a decision if he's going to win. If not, Romanov's going to win by sub like he's done in all of his wins in pretty much the first round. But I agree with you, man. Hit this shit live because Romanov's probably going to win the first round. And if he doesn't, or if he does and he doesn't finish
that's an easy cash.
Yeah, but Blagoy's going to fucking take over the second and third because Blagoy doesn't gas out.
So maybe that's how we shift it to the – because if the over – you are right. That over is or Billy, I'm talking about, you are right as far as the over being a little bit – juicy. I get it because it is sort of expected. So maybe that is the way. Nick saying the live, hammering down the live might just be the official play. That's why we put them out early, and then as it comes down the line, we can sort of adjust as we roll, but then get them locked in as the week closes out.
I don't mind over 1.5. It's just more from a narrative theory. Let's say like in a hypothetical scenario at a book or whatever, there's 100 bets on this fight. Probably like 60 or 70 of them are probably going to be able to over 1.5 or something like that. And the rest of them are probably going to be like Blagoy, like by decision and degen shit like that. So like just those type of things like worry me.
I get it for sure. One thing I wanted to go down is there any more picks left as far as your guys' 3 picks? They're all out on the table, right?
Yeah, I think I hit them all.
What I wanted to do was, and I know the Billy, you put out one sort of spread potential play as the line comes out, but I wanted to actually go down the card and see where a couple, where you want to hit those spreads right away as soon as the line drops. I definitely think there's going to be value no matter how the line closes in the Demirez, Magulov, and Grant Dawson line. I think that you'll be able to get, I think one guy wins one of the rounds. I think Dawson wins at least one of those rounds because he's going to be the dog, I think, likely at closing. I know that, Billy, you were saying Griffin. I think Griffin definitely, I mean, you're looking at Griffin even as the dog. I think Griffin definitely could steal a round in that. So I think the conservative play on that at the spread is probably going to be the best value spread that's out there because Griffin seems to be locked in at plus 200 unless we see something different in the weigh-ins that sort of sways that line. What about, I mean, a lot of people I think we're looking at, I saw this in the chat as well too, about the Benoit Saint Denis and the Ismail Bonfim. Like people are trying to think that Denis can actually win it. I don't know about that one. That's what I was saying. I don't know about that one. It's what people are putting out. I just wanted to hear if you even wanted to give it any kind of air.
I would not. The only thing you bet on that fight is violence. Somebody's dying, and I don't know.
I like the Kevin Lee.
It's probably going to be Benoit Saint Denis from history speaking, and what
I just think Benoit Saint Denis is so fucking hittable, man. And like Bonfim, like he's so technical whenever he comes. Like you looked at Terrence McKinney, man, like and he was just throwing shots, and like Bonfim was just like nowhere to be found. And I gotta say that Terrence McKinney probably has more technical striking, like at least the way he approaches it. Benoit Saint Denis just fucking runs headfirst into whoever comes his direction.
And I know that, Nick, you were sort of, when I put out a play early in the week, it was Rosa and Kutulade, just as an early prelim parlay. I think it was a spot I liked. For you were saying Brenner might be live in that Kutulade fight. So would you think for you, and I want to hear what Billy thinks, if Brenner may be live for a spread as well?
Well, no, because I don't think that fight's going 15 minutes. Like in order for your spread to hit, you need,
what does it need to hit a certain? So Billy, what does it need to hit for the spread to?
It needs to go to judges.
The fight, it needs to go 15 minutes, or you have the fight
I thought there was some kind of
that
out on
gets
it.
to finish.
No, because you
for
need
example,
an official card. Like you need an official judge's scorecard to hit.
No, not particularly. So, like for example, if you bet Macy Barber yesterday on the spread or whatever plus 3.5, because she got the finish,
exactly.
You had the spread.
That's true.
You cash.
I think you just take Brenner
so
inside the distance if you're gonna, and I think Brenner, if he wins, is just because Guram shoots and he gets locked up in something. And I agree with what you say, like Guram's live on the feet, but there's going to be times where that fight hits grappling exchanges. And as I said, he cashed as such a massive dog in his last fight. Whether we all agree he probably should not have won that fight, and that started off a lot of people's nights very bad. But it's just, I think at like minus 800, whatever Guram sits at, like there's a little bit of value on the other side, especially considering the sub props.
I thought Brenner got lucky in that fight with Zubi.
That's what I'm saying. We all do.
Not by the judge's scorecards, just a scenario. Zubi had a bad weight cut. He showed up unprepared. He looked like dog shit. I don't think that was the fight that we thought Zubi was gonna give us. Like sometimes I feel like when we're like taping, we gotta tape the side of like, how did this other person perform on that night? And to be honest with you, Zubi looked like a fucking D- on that night. Anybody could have beat his ass.
No, you never. That's where it's hard when you're trying to watch tape and sort of pile up the last couple of fights to see exactly where they're at, because you never know what happened one camp. You don't know how they're feeling. All that goes into it. And that's why we're even and I may as well drop it now. We'll be doing a new podcast that'll be coming out onto the channel that I'm going to really be pushing. I realized I had so much content from interviewing all these fighters and talking about motivation, mindset, how they move. So it's going to be really a thing for not only young fighters coming up so they can understand how some of those senior fighters are thinking and doing and how they attack their fights and life. It's going to be for the average Joe to benefit from as well too. And on top of that, the average gambler to understand how there's certain fighters and how they think, how they break down things, how they're going to go in. Because you'll hear me ask guys like, so it's round 3. He's sucking wind. What's your approach? I ask questions like that. I want to know how they think in there, because some guys have different answers. Some guys take different approaches. And I think that's valuable with understanding their mindset and their fight IQ as well too. So it will be coming out, and officially the name I'll drop later once I have things all locked in. But I'm pretty excited for that part of the podcast and the channel too. So I think it's going to be able to give us a new look into some things. So to get back to the talk that we're looking at all the spreads. I think I'm going to make my official spread Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee is going to be the official one that when the line comes out, I think I'm going to still have value on it. Obviously, we have to hammer it when it comes out and see exactly what it is. I know that you already had one play out, Billy, for that with the spread, but pick another one, because this is just sort of an end of the beyond your picks. What do you like as the spread?
Yeah, if I had to rank them for this week, I might just rank them all. I feel like number 1 would be Narleton Verzubliov. Number 2 for me would be Max Griffin. Number 3 for me, honestly, would be Luana Carolina. I think she could pull off a greasy split.
Not a bad way to look at it.
Fight. Number 4 for me would be Kevin Lee, and then number 5 for me would be Blagoy Ivanov. Those would be my 5. If I had to rank them for the spread, depending on what the odds are to come out, I feel like those would be the fighters I think that have the best shot of just winning one round.
Okay, and then Nick, you can do the same, or you can just pick one or do 1 to 5, whatever you want to do.
No, I'll do one, man. I'll pick a boost. I think he honestly beats Strickland. Not enough for me to put my neck out there and say that, but like I think that fight's gonna be close, and I think Strickland's shown poor fight IQ time and time again. And in a fight where he can bully someone like Imamov, like I think that's where he really shines. But like a boost is good KO power, man, and I'm excited to see what this kid can do. He only has the one fight in the UFC, but I think this is gonna be one of the things where people just kind of overlook, and I think he honestly gets a KO early.
Man, Strickland's fighting 2 guys in the cage. I don't know. Man.
Yeah, I got to go the other way, man.
And once again, it's not a strong take. Not a strong take at all.
Go.
Sean Strickland did show. It's one of those, like in MMA sometimes, it's like in other sports, we get to follow these players' career and stuff like that day in and day out. And every once in a blue moon, you'll get a fighter that you can just follow their social media. And Sean Strickland took steps that shows me that he gives a fuck about this fight. Las Vegas is probably one of the best hottest spots to get training in, day out. And he left the comforts of his Las Vegas home to go out, not to San Diego, which is his second gym. He went out to fucking Danbury, fucking Connecticut. A time that I spent 3 months out there earlier this year. And I will tell you, if you're going to Danbury, Connecticut for something, it is fucking purposeful, and you will be lonely as fuck out there. He went out there, trained with Alex Pereira and the boys, and he wanted to know, what were the secrets? How the fuck did you knock me out so early in that fight? I get it. Maybe I came in a little bit too much, but can we spar again a couple of times? And can you show me a few things? And that's what Alex did. Alex took him under his wing, showed him a couple of kickboxing techniques that he knows and how he caught him and stuff like that. And not a lot of time in MMA do we see fighters that they lose their biggest fight of their career, and then they go to that gym the next fight and they learn a little bit. Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira, some of the best teachers in MMA sport right now. And I feel like Sean Strickland's being underrated coming into this spot. I see a lot of people on a boost. I personally think Sean Strickland finishes this dude in the 4th round.
Okay. So then a boost is not a spread side either. So okay, he finishes, and that's the deal. Interesting takes. I like it.
It's just something I feel in my heart, man. If you're going out to Danbury, Connecticut from Las Vegas, you are looking for answers. And maybe he found those answers. We're going to find out this Saturday.
Nick, no, man. That's where I like this podcast, man. So you get the banter back and forth. I'm like, all right, maybe you're seeing something that I'm not seeing. So let's see.
I mean, Strickland went out there to really get the answers. I like that. I like that idea because I like when fighters want to pick apart things like that. But he also could have went out there to get some reels, get that podcast.
Nah, my lawyer sent me the videos, secret inside information. We got the sparring videos between Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira. I'm telling you, Sean Strickland's ready for this one.
Okay. Not one I felt too strongly either way or whatever it was. I think I sort of like the level of competition in Strickland, although Abus has been around for a while just outside of the UFC. But Strickland, just when he is on his striking game and gets control of that striking game, it's just no one can really keep up with it. So it'll be interesting. Definitely interesting to see. But we have our spots, a couple of spreads that we throw out there as well, too. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to add before we call it a day?
I honestly think Luana Carolina is something I got to research a little bit more. Maybe one of those ones where you don't bet it until Saturday morning, the day of, and you get a feel out for the market. But this girl, Ivana Petrovic, is a fraud. I swear to God, she is a fraud. She might be 6-0, but she has so many holes in her game from me watching like maybe 20 or 30 minutes of tape. I've seen her being taken down. I've seen her get bopped. I mean, I don't get how she's 6-0, man. I think she's a fraud. I think Luana Carolina, a little bit of greasy narrative theory. She had a spinal injury against Ariana Lipski, which was one of Ariana Lipski's best performances ever in her career. But, now she's matched up on the same exact card as Ariana Lipski. She's definitely going to look at the card, see there's a lot of my fights at this weight class. I want to get back into the rankings and stuff like that. And she's fighting for her job right now. Yeah. I mean, Luana Carolina hasn't looked the best, but I think she's going to give Ivana Petrovic a run for her money, and I would not be surprised to see her hand get raised.
That's funny because I was actually looking at Ivana as a potential early prelim parlay piece. And as I was doing that, I was watching a little bit of tape. I'm like, why is she so heavily favored? I mean, I get it. It's Luana. I was taking a look at it, and I'm like, they're feeding her. Maybe she's coming in. But at the same time, a wise grasshopper's voice rang out in my head. And I looked at the idea of the minus 200 or minus 205 or whatever the hell the price tag was. And it was a stay off for me. The moment that I saw that, I thought she's going to be the one that is the apple pie shitter in this situation. And that's when I went with the Rosa and the Fakhretdinov, the Rosa and the Kutaladze parlay. So that was the wise grasshopper. He gets it, but that wise grasshopper was Billy Briz. On those PFL parlays and or Bellator parlays, you got to be careful with those minus 200s. They will come back to burn you. Just dig into those minus 400s and above, and you're laughing. So
if we get Luana Carolina, the girl that showed up against Lupe Godinez, she smokes this bitch.
Nick, any thoughts or anything else on the way out besides changing your Twitter handle to Eagle Eye MMA so we can start tagging you in things because yours is obscenely long. Other than that.
No, I'm good, man. That's it. Like my only thing is like I think we've had a lot of favorite cards recently. There's not a lot of dogs I like on this card, and I feel like it's one of those cards we're gonna look for angles, we're gonna see some shit. But I think you're looking like 10 out of 12 favorites just riding this one out. I don't think this is gonna be a dog heavy card. And I think a lot of people are gonna be searching for value based on the last couple of weeks with dogs have been barking so loud. But I just don't think this is the one. Like I said, like the dogs I like, honestly, are opposed to the dogs you guys like. So one of us is fucking wrong at the end of the day. Like I kind of ride with Lipsky here, and everybody's telling me she's about to get slapped. So we're gonna see how this turns
Hey,
out.
I didn't say. All I said was I just like the under. You guys can throw your violence at me, and I'll take that under, or the fight doesn't go, or all that beautifulness. Actually, fight doesn't go -105.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Like,
I just can't get that Montana De La Rosa performance out of my head. That I'm telling you, anytime Ariana Lipsky fights, there is money to be made.
She's like a box of chocolates, man. I'm not gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. We all know. So you just don't know what
man. Tread lightly on this one, man, because this card is fucking greasy. Like it is a little.
And on that note, for Nick Egli, Billy Briz, a lot of things coming. Website's going to be opened likely by September. We will have a website up and running. New podcast starting. Josh Hill will actually be jumping on board as a sort of, periodic guest host. He's going to help me interview fighters as well too. So I'm pretty excited about that. Shit's about to pop because the game plan's been rolling exactly the way it needs to. Now everything else is about to move up to that next level. So for the Donttap podcast, we out. That's it.